The next topic we're going to cover is going to be on surface area of prisms. And we talked again about prisms in the first video as any shape where the front and the back or the top and the bottom would be an equivalent shape. So a rectangular prism would have equivalent rectangles on the top and bottom. A cylinder is an example of a prism because the circle at the top and bottom or front and back would be the same. The best and easiest way to find the surface area of any prism is to draw the net and then find the area of each piece of the net individually and then add all of the areas up together. Now, what's important to note about each of these objects is that you should have 6 shapes for a rectangular prism, but 3 of them should be repeated. Therefore, if I look at this object, I notice that the top and the bottom would be here. Each of these sides, so if this was side 1 and this was side 2, that would make this side 1, and on the opposite side would be side 2. Well, they should be the same. And I also know that this would be the front, so we can call this 3, and this would be the back, so we can call it 4. And once again, just like this picture, if we find the area of each piece individually, we can double those pieces and add them all up to save ourselves some time. So when we look at a Rubik's Cube, which is a cube, we notice that if we're going to find the area of each piece of the color, we can then just add up all of the answers at the end. Well, let's start with blue. I notice the blue is a square with a base of 3 inches and a height of 3 inches. So we know that this is an area of 9 square inches. Well, if that has an area of 9 square inches, the opposite side should also have an area of 9 square inches. Well, red is also a square, should have the exact same area. And the yellow is still a 3 by 3 as well. So all of these would be the same. Therefore, the 6-sided object would be adding 9 6 times, or 9 times 6, which would be 54 inches squared. And unlike volume, which had cubic inches, surface area, even though it's of a 3-dimensional object, is still just the outside of the object. So it is still a 2-dimensional measurement, so it should have a 2-dimensional label, or square inches. To find the surface area of this Xbox 360, we're once again going to draw the same net that we had before. And what's important to note about the net is that it doesn't need to be drawn perfectly to scale. So I will almost always draw my nets the same way. And it doesn't matter if these are perfect, as long as your left and right would be the same, your top and bottom would be the same, or your front and back would be the same. Okay? Well, I know that the right side right here is 18 times 8. So I get 144 for the area on this side. And this would be square centimeters. And so this side would also be 144 square centimeters. The front of the object would be right here, and that would be 90 square centimeters. The back would be the exact same, also 90 square centimeters. The top and bottom would then be 5 centimeters times 8 centimeters, which would give me an area of 40 square centimeters for each. Now, in order to find the volume, or sorry, surface area, not volume, you would then simply do 2 times 144 plus 2 times 90 plus 2 times 40. And when you are working with these objects, you are certainly allowed to use a calculator. So this would be 288 plus 180 plus 80, which gives me a surface area of 548 square centimeters. That is the answer for this problem. For a triangular prism, there are now 5 sides instead of 6. And the only sides that are going to be repeated are the rectangle, or sorry, the triangle in the front and the triangle in the back. So each of these rectangles, they could be the same, but they're frequently going to be different. But I know that the triangle in the front and the triangle in the back will be the same. Well, the area of this triangle in the front is 1.5 square centimeters, and I can write that as a decimal or a fraction. And now when I look at the rectangles individually on the sides, it gets a little bit trickier. I know that this length right here is 2 centimeters, and I know this length right here is 10 centimeters. Therefore, the area of this rectangle would be 20 square centimeters. I know the area of this would be the bottom, is going to be a 1 by 10. So this will have an area of 10 square centimeters. Let's make sure we get the label in for both of these. And the last one is a 2 by 10 as well. So this is going to be the same as the other rectangle, but that is not always going to be the case. It depends if you're working with a scalene triangle, an isosceles triangle, or an equilateral triangle. But the process would be the same. I would then add up 20 plus 10 plus 20, and then I would add these together, which would give me 3. So then I end up getting an area of 53 square centimeters. And that's how you do a triangular prism. The last shape we're going to be working with is by far the hardest when doing surface area, but it's a rectangle. And if you've drawn, or not a rectangle, a cylinder. If you've drawn a cylinder before, it's important to note that it creates a rectangle from the middle of the shape. So just like before, we're going to split it up into 3 pieces, and then we're going to find the area of each piece. Well, the circles on the outside are going to be pi times radius squared for each of those, and they will be the same. But the rectangle in the middle, if you've done a net and you fold it out, you know that this side right here is equal to the circumference of the circle. The circumference of the circle is equal to the diameter times pi. So this length right here will be the diameter times pi. So for this circle, it would be 24 times pi. And this is simply the height of the entire rectangle. So now that we've drawn that out, let's see if we can find the areas of each. And we're going to use our calculator to help us see if we can get this correct. So if the radius is 12, that would be 144 times pi for each of the rectangles. So that gives us 452 and 1600ths. So my mouse isn't working. 400 and what did that say? 52 and 1600ths. 452, 1600ths. Now I know that this circle up here will be the same. So that's the area of our 2 circles. But the rectangle in the middle will be 24 times pi. That will give us the length of the rectangle. And then the height of that rectangle would be 40. So I take this times 40. And that gives me 3,014 and 4/10. My mouse is still not working. So 3,014 and 4/10. So now I'm going to add all 3 of these up. And that will give me my total surface area. Well, that is already in. So 452 and 1600ths. And we're going to add that again. So my total area is 3,918 and 7200ths. Make sure I got that correct. We did. And this, because it's 2 dimensions, will be in square feet. And that is how you find the surface area of a cylinder. If you are not able to get 3 out of 4 questions correct, make sure you watch the retake video. If you have any questions, please let me know.